Hey everybody, let me apologize in advance a little bit here. It actually did not record my audio for the majority of this video. So I'm going to do the best I can in narrating, essentially. More or less, I've been building and mining quite a bit, and I've been grinding up the resources in the quartz grindstone, which, as you can imagine, does take quite a while. But what I'm wanting to do is get some IC2 things started today. And I have a little bit of vanilla automation here where you can toss some coal into one chest and whatever you want smelted into another, and it will filter through the furnace. And it will just continue going until it runs out of stuff. So, very efficient on coal, and you just don't have to touch it. So it's a very simple vanilla automation that you can use in literally in a vanilla game just with normal furnaces. And that's thanks to the hoppers. And I think I'm explaining that right now. But, yeah. So here I'm showing you that I have the hammer and the cutter. And that's actually how you make the iron furnace. You have 5 pieces of iron, which you turn into plates, and you make that how you used to make the iron furnace. But I do have a farm now, and stuff is growing. We've also got a rubber farm. Took a little bit to find the saplings. They were actually down in a jungle biome, which I found. It's actually just east of the Mystic Grove, which isn't too bad to be out here. Yeah, not a heck of a lot to talk about from what I was doing here. Not sure if I was talking, in fact. It's a little odd now that I think about it. I may actually cut a little bit of this down. So, if you're still here, bear with me. I promise it will get a little more interesting in just a few minutes. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and cook the... excuse me. Now we're going to go ahead and cook the resin. To do this in the system that we've got going there, you'll just have to replace it with what's currently in the furnace and then put what's in the furnace back into the hopper or the chest, and it should work fine. It won't really interrupt anything in particular. Not quite sure what I was talking about over here. Well, that's kind of bad, but you're not even inside your own head. Well, yeah, I really don't know what that was all about. But that's really bad, I suppose. Huh. Oh, either way. I suppose it'll work eventually. Right now I am getting the rubber so I can make some electronic circuits, because we actually want to get some IC2 started. So we're going to start with the generator, which is just a battery, which requires 10 plates and a 10 cable. or 10 item casings, sorry. And then we're going to need a machine block and then a furnace. So we need 8 iron and 2 tin to make one, well, 3 tin, because you have to make the wires. So that's what it takes to make the battery and the generator in total. But those aren't the only machines we're going to make today. We're actually going to go ahead and get most of the other IC2 stuff, or the basic IC2 stuff, out of the way. We're not going to have something like the ore washing plant yet, just because that requires water, and it's a real hassle to have to run back and forth to a water source and fill it. So we're going to wait until we have more of a framework ready to actually get that going. So there's the machine block. We're getting some cobble. It looks like we're making the generator first, which is understandable. Not sure where I'm going. Oh, yep. I have the generator in hand now. So that is where we've got it. So next step would be to actually get a bat box, if I recall correctly. Keep in mind, this was a few days ago. So I'm probably wrong. But I think I'm right. And it looks like I'm making batteries. Yep. That's exactly what it looks like. Well, at least I got that part right. It is good to know every now and then that you can read your own mind. But, yeah. So the bat box is actually still the lowest tier of energy storage. However, there is a new tier of energy storage. It's called the CESU. It's actually made with bronze and outputs up to about 512 EU per tick, whereas the bat box only puts out up to 32 EU per tick. So it's actually useful to have more than just going straight to fiber cable. In fact, fiber cable is extremely costly. I mean, it actually takes a ton of diamonds. It takes 4 diamonds to make 4 cables. Each cable costs 1 diamond, essentially. So it's horribly, horribly expensive, especially early game. Once you get into late game and can kind of fabricate diamonds, it's probably not too big of a deal, but yeah, it's still very, very expensive to do. I think what we're going to be doing now is making a macerator, because grinding all that stuff up in the grindstone is, if anyone's ever done that before, or if anyone's never done that before, rather, I don't really recommend you sit there for an hour and grind things. It is a very, very painful experience. But, yeah. Alright, looks like we're making another circuit here. I can tell that because of the 6 cables, and we're making an iron plate. The iron plate goes in the middle with, yeah, I think you've already seen me make one of those, so I won't bore you with those details, but it's nice to know that they actually did change the. I'm glad to know that IC2 is evolving, and it has actually, in my opinion, become a much more fun mod. It's actually more challenging. While the start is still viable, it's a little more fun to craft some of the things. Like it's a bit more challenging of a build to do nuclear energy, for example. Um, Looks like I ended up having to go mining again. Um, oh no, I actually had to go find flint. That's what it was. Because we're actually making the macerator, and I realized I didn't have any flint. Um, I just tend to avoid gravel most of the time. Something interesting is that if you actually hit gravel with a fortune enchant, you have a higher chance of getting flint from it, and a lower chance of actually getting the gravel. So it's kind of a win-lose situation, especially if you have mods like Tinker's Construct, which require a decent bit of gravel. You can actually just not have any gravel and have tons and tons of flint. So it's, well, that's a heck of a derp that I just did there. I tried to put it in the battery slot. I am not going to defend my own actions. That's pretty sad. Um, Sorry about that. Okay, so now it looks like. Oh, yeah. This is. There's a mod, I believe it's called Extra Utilities, that adds something similar to pipes, and you can do liquids with it. And for whatever reason, I was confusing translocators with that mod. And you see, that mod allows you to do something very similar to the aqueous accumulator. So you place a block, and if it's above a water source and it's an infinite pool, it will generate water for you that you can transfer throughout your network of pipes. Well, I ended up going and hunting Enderman, forgetting that it's not the translocator mod. The translocator mod only really transfers between a one block range, and I don't think it can act as a well. In fact, I'm pretty darn sure it does not act to suck up water from a source block. But looks like we're just grinding up a couple pieces of lead. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking I'm going to make a CESU. I could have sworn I did that later. Oh, I'm showing you what stone dust is used for. Yeah. Okay, essentially, through the refining process, you can actually refine it past the maceration stage. So you can put it through an ore washing plant. When you do that, you get purified ore. You get the purified dust. You get stone dust, and you get a little pile of dust. And that little pile is typically whatever you're grinding. And you do get quite a bit of it. So, I mean, if you're grinding probably 4 or 5 stacks of iron, you're going to get at least another stack of iron out of it just from the small dust. And you're going to get a ton of the stone dust. Believe me, you get a ton of the stone dust. But you can actually refine it one step further. And that's in the thermal centrifuge. And that gives you another thing of dust, like just a further refined dust, but also gives you more, I think it gives you more stone dust and like another pile of dust. or a small pile of dust. So it gives you just that little bit more to do it, though it does require more power, and the thermal centrifuge has to warm up. So it's not exactly quick on the uptake. But once you get it going, it can be pretty darn quick at chewing through a stack of items. Don't get me wrong, but it can also eat a lot of power. It's very similar to how the induction furnace works, is that if it gets faster as it processes items. In this case, it has to warm up before it can process the items. But it's very similar to how people used to use the induction furnace. They'd put the redstone signal on it and let it warm up, and once it's at 100%, you just start pumping items into it, and it chews through them pretty darn quick. Let's see if I can get back on topic here. I think I'm going to make an electric furnace. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So we're going to go ahead and steal some more rubber and some iron, which we've already got, looks like. Going to make another circuit, which those hammers and things, not very efficient. And I think later this episode we actually get a metal former, which really does help out, I have to say. It looks like I forgot to make the furnace. Yep, there it is. And this is how you make the iron furnace, like I mentioned earlier. So now I've got to make the actual circuit. Just like so. And now we're going to put it all together. Push redstone on bottom, circuit on the top. Boom. So now we can cook things a bit faster than just a standard iron furnace, even though we're still on coal power. Not too big of a deal. We're going to alleviate that issue a bit later. Possibly in the next episode. I don't exactly remember. In fact, I think is the next episode. But for now, coal power is still fine. And it looks like we capped the power. And I'm probably talking about adding more machines. Oh no, I'm talking about the upgrades and how it's very, very specific on the power and the different power tiers. Yeah, this is definitely when I was getting into the different power tiers. So I'll have the bat box, the MFE, the MFSU, and the CESU, which is one down and to the left, right there. Okay, so it outputs 128 EU per tick. That's my bad. The MFE is 512, and then the MFSU is 2000. So, decent gap between the MFE and the MFSU. CESU takes the sulfur dust. The sulfur dust you can get by ore washing lead, but you can actually get it also in the world. It tends to spawn down in lava level and near lava. So if you're running around in a cave and you start finding lava, if you dig around, you'll probably find some sulfur. It actually looks just like what I had there. But the storage tier, it actually jumps up quite a bit and gives you a lot more energy storage. So it's actually a pretty good investment. It's the same thing with the bat box, or not the bat box, but the battery packs. There is no lap pack anymore, but there's still 3 tiers of battery packs, so that's something to keep in mind. The 2 jetpacks are still the same, and so on and so forth, but also it's very specific on the energy tiers now. So things like nano armor or have to be charged in an MFE, because nano armor is a tier 3 power device, and it requires at least a tier 3 storage device in order to be powered. So you can't stick your nano in a bat box. Sorry. The tools also, or at least the drill, has upgrades as well. So you start with a tier 1 power, so that can go into a bat box. You can upgrade it to the diamond drill, but it's still tier 1. There is a further upgrade, which I'll discuss later, in a later episode. But it turns it to a tier 3 power. So, some things to consider. And it looks like I'm talking about the translocator, how I went and actually found the ender pearls. You saw me looking like a porcupine there. But as I mentioned, translocators are a completely different mod, and what I am doing right now just won't work. Period. So I actually end up with 2 liquid translocators that I still have not used to this day. I don't know if I'll ever use them, to be honest. It's not exactly my best moment, and this is where I'm realizing it. Yeah, this is definitely where I'm realizing it. Well, at least I can laugh at my own mistakes. But once again, I will go ahead and say sorry about the audio not recording. I am going to keep a little closer eye on it. In truth, the audio did record, but what it recorded is ear-screeching, mind-numbing madness. So I'll leave it at that. But what am I looking at here? Oh, yeah. I was looking in to see if there's other solutions to the water issue. I don't actually have much with my mod set that he deals with the transfer of water. So it's literally down to use a pump and ender tanks. So that is what I'll end up doing, and right now it looks like I'm making a metal former, which not too bad of a recipe. Does require quite a bit of copper, because each of those coils requires a piece of iron and 8 pieces of copper cable. The toolbox is not exactly cheap, but still not exactly inexpensive either. So looks like I'm just getting stuff together. Yeah, I'm sorry if my narration skill is not up to par. I don't get much practice in it, to be honest. So, yeah, it looks like the toolboxes require bronze. So you need 5 bronze item casings per, which really is not that bad. So looks like that should do it, I think. Yeah, it gives me 12, so we'll have 2 bronze item casings left over, so it's not the end of the world. And chests. Yay! There we go, and that should be most of what we need. Keep in mind the toolboxes do not stack. So we're going to go ahead and need a machine block and another circuit. So I might actually end up having to go get more rubber. I think I'm about out at this point. Or actually, yeah, I think I already did get the rubber. Oh, why was that for copper? That makes sense. And this is when I realized I have another furnace. What am I doing? Yeah. I'm not the brightest sometimes. But definitely not the dimmest bulb in the bunch. So looks like my hammer broke. So we got to do that again. Now we get some more cable. And I forgot the rubber. There we go. Back on track. Now, something to note, while that crafting bench that I'm using, it doesn't drop the items when you leave the interface, but it has issues with NEI and inventory tweaks. So while it works perfectly fine as a normal crafting bench, shift clicking some things in it doesn't work. And if you try to use the W hotkey to put things up into the crafting grid, that doesn't work on it. So certain things just don't like working on it. So all in all, it has its uses, but I actually prefer a regular crafting bench, unfortunately. We will remedy that in a bit. A couple episodes, I think. But really, it's not too bad. So yeah, now looks like I'm just showing you how the metal former works. To be perfectly honest, until you get some upgrades in the metal former, it's not so much worth it to use it because it is fairly slow. I mean, if you're doing other stuff and you don't need it yet, and you do it in advance, it's perfectly fine. And keep in mind, on the extruding mode, you can just use extruding mode to make wires. You don't have to hammer it and then cut it. You can just use extruding. So right there, we got the cable and all that. Not sure exactly what I'm making now. Am I going for an ore washing plant or... Oh, yes. Yes, this is where I decided to make a drill. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Drills are very handy early game, I gotta tell you, and it's a great first use of your first 3 diamonds. It is a little more expensive to make a drill, but so it's really not too bad. It requires 2 more of those coils, and those coils go into an electric motor. Then you combine that motor with 3 batteries. Oh, excuse me. But you combine it with 3 batteries and I think a circuit. Yeah, and 2 copper wires, and you actually end up with the housing. And then you combine it with another 6 iron plates, and you get yourself a normal drill. Then, in addition to that, you can combine that normal drill with those 3 diamonds that I told you about, and that gets you what you had before. And I'm kind of in love with the view out of that window for some reason. It really is a nice view. because if you're actually looking at it, you can see the sun coming up and it's like perfectly square right in the window. But yeah. So it looks like here I'm just getting this stuff together. So let me just cut ahead a little bit since I've already explained this. Okay, looks like this is actually where I made the drill. So now we're going to get the plates to combine with the housing, which I completely derped up on and forgot that you need 6 plates, not 5. Keep in mind, this is pretty much my first time messing with this version of Industrial Craft. So I'm not entirely fluent with most of the recipes at this point. So now you combine it with the 3 diamonds and you get your tier 1 diamond drill, which is very nice, but to be perfectly honest, we need more stuff. This is actually where I'm telling you about the 3rd iteration. It's called the iridium drill. It requires a lot of stuff. So each of those plates require 1 diamond, and then the energy crystals now actually require 4 diamonds. They don't require just 1 anymore. It actually requires 4. So in total, the it requires 7 diamonds in total to make the iridium drill. In other words, not exactly a cheap recipe. Not to mention you need the iridium. So you can actually get that in dungeon chests now, which is surprising. I hadn't expected them to do that, but I guess that's their solution to not having it spawn in world and not having easy access to UU early in the game. So to be able to get that, you're pretty much going to have to find a bunch of it in dungeon chests. So you're going to be lucky if you find a bunch of mine shafts. Mine shafts are really going to help you out here. So now I'm going to make the tier 2 backpack. I think I'm just going to jump right into the tier 2 backpack here. So it requires a bunch of those batteries, which require bronze, sulfur, and lead dust. So really that's not too bad. We have actually cooked up some lead, I believe. So I'm going to have to grind that back up. And we're getting back to the part where, yeah, we're almost to the part where my narration is going to stop because the audio was actually good here in a few seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the narration and let myself take over. So I'll see you guys in just a few seconds. Well, I'm sorry about this, guys. I had actually recorded a bit here, but it turns out the recording had gotten a little corrupted. Made a metal former. Haven't figured out something in the short term for water, so I'm not going to have an overwashing plant yet. That's going to come after I visit the Nether and get some blaze rods. But made a diamond drill right here, which easy enough to make. Just takes a little bit of time. Electric motor, coils, all that. Going to jump into the tier 2 battery pack. So gonna need to make some of these. We're gonna need 5 bronze casings per. So since we get 2, let's just make a bit of stuff here. I think that'll about cover it.
That's just a guesstimate, by the way. So then we'll need sulfur. Now I was cooking up crushed lead here. Oops. I wasn't supposed to do that. It's got to cook. Then I got to grind it and get crushed lead. So we have the sulfur. Then we need copper cables. Let's go ahead and use the extruder. So you saw earlier that using the hammer and the cutter with the copper ingot, you only get two wires. In this, however, you actually get 3. So it's very worth it on material-wise to use the metal former. And this is on extruding mode. So very, very efficient. So we got the lead ingots. Put those in there. Grind them up again. Seems kind of redundant to do it this way, but with the new industrial craft mechanics, you can't really get the... Yeah, actually, I'm not even sure about what I was just about to say. Might actually try it. I haven't actually tried putting an ingot into the macerator yet. So there's those. Tick tock, tick tock. If anyone wants a lesson in watching paint dry, just watch a macerator work. Oh, cool. So it does give lead dust. That is good to know. And in point of fact, we actually have more than enough lead dust, I believe. So we need 2 per. So since we've got to make 6, means we're going to need 12. And what do you know, we have 12 cables. It's kind of like I planned it. Alright. 6. Now we need a circuit. Oh dear. I am fast running out of inventory space, so let's go ahead and put you in there. Just dump you, you and you. Can go in there as well. Needs a copper thing, so let's grab another piece. Only one. There's my hammer. There's my hammer. Things you would expect from Thor, God of Thunder. Where's my hammer? Sorry, was watching something earlier today about that. Norse mythology and all. So let's speed this oh, that's another thing I need to do. Extractor. Ah, dang it. Next time. Next time. Till then, we got what we need. So, it's all good. It's all good. I need one more iron. Let's hammer you out. 2 redstone. Hooray! If the click and drag feature worked. Alright. So now, just need the 6 batteries. Like so. And boom. Tier 2 battery pack. Awesome. This puppy is going to be a beast to get charged, because it does not charge in there. That means I'm probably going to have to make the tier 2 power. Dang it. Okay. For that, We just need 3. That's not too bad. And we actually have enough lead for it, and we have enough sulfur. So I suppose it's not the end of the world. Let's dump some more coal in here. We have bronze casings. But where's 5? I don't have any more bronze bait. Oh, yes I do. There we go. Don't mind me, I'm blind. Okay, so that's 2 of the batteries. Don't need you. Okay. And one more. Actually, more than one more, but that's beside the point. Five. 1. Okay. Let's turn you to the hammer. Release you. There we go. Might as well use up the last charge. 2, 3. Come on. 4. Last one. Wow. Early game is just like watching paint dry. Okay. Now, we're going to make more copper cables. So we need more rubber. Dang it. At least we can sleep. And we have a rubber farm. So that's not too bad. I really need to harvest the farm sometime soon. It's overflowing. Bye, zombie. Bye, zombie. Okay. Pretty sure that's going to be more than enough for what we need. Once again, regretting the fact that I don't have an extractor yet. But oh well. We just need 1. In point of fact, since we just need 1, or actually we need 2, don't we? Dang it. There we go. I was much more prepared before the file got corrupted, so please do forgive me on this. Normally I would try to get the stuff collected a little better before starting recording, but I felt it needed a little bit of an explanation, and I think I just messed that up. That'll probably only yield the standard number. Dang it. Oh, no, it did give 3. Cool. It just took more power. So, okay. Sure. Why not? Alright. CESU, batteries, we got 3. Oh, come on. You jerk. Why don't you ever do it? Okay. Now there, you should fill up, and now I can charge my backpack. Yes! However, it will take forever. So, think I'm gonna harvest the farm. Might see about doing some other stuff, including mining. And I'll get back to you guys after a bit. Well, actually, after looking at the footage, I realized we're well over time. We're at about the 47-minute mark, so I'm going to go ahead and call it here. So this has been episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, leave information in the comments if you have requests for specific types of builds, or if you have an idea on, say, hey, don't use ender storage, or hey, use a lot of railcraft. We want to see railcraft mechanics or something like that. Just let me know if you want to see more of one mod or the other, and I can typically oblige you in that, because I do know most of the mods pretty well. So, yeah. So give me some feedback in the comments, or just let me know what you think and what you want to see. Till then, you guys take it easy.